It's crazy to think we're coming upon a whole new year. And with that, it could be very anxiety provoking and thinking, okay, a whole year went by me, a new one's before me. And we hear these words like resolution, new. And a lot of that comes with this sometimes unrealistic expectations of me changing. Today, we're not looking at that. Instead of, as we have a new year before us, and I believe every day that we're given, every year that has been gifted to us is truly a gift. It's not owed to us. Life is fleeting. It's not about hanging on to the mistakes and the heartbreak of last year, but instead taking those things as lessons and taking it as a new chapter in our lives. So jumping in today, looking at the aspect of focusing on ourselves like we never have before, because my friends, you deserve it. And as we go in today, I believe we have so many people right now who are just tired, who are kind of white knuckling life right now and just feeling like, I don't have time to revamp my whole life. I don't have time or the focus or the ability to change myself in 1,000 ways. That's not what I'm asking you to do. What I'm looking at today, and I'm hoping that you'll join me in this process, is how we look at this new year before us. How do I make this year better? And there's certain things, my friends, we are not in control of. And it's like, I'm not in control, but our mindset has a massive, massive connection to how the quality of our days, our months, and our years go. So in terms of looking at the next 365 days before us, the first thing I want to look at is allowing ourselves to take a step and giving ourselves permission to just be you. Giving yourself permission to be you. Well, what the heck does that mean and what does that look like? I think there are many of us who at times can struggle being comfortable in our own skin. As we age, as we get older, it's allowing ourselves to not compare ourselves. It's allowing ourselves to say that I am going to become comfortable on this journey. And that's what it is. Life is a journey. It is not from A to B to C to D. It's a journey with hills and valleys, and our bodies and our minds and our experiences change as we get older. And so with that, it's becoming comfortable, giving ourselves permission to age, to experience, to be ourselves. What are your interests? What are your passions? How you look? Are you comfortable with who you are? And reminding ourselves, and if that has to be daily or even hourly, that you are wonderful and beautiful and amazing. And so many people don't believe that. That there are almost 8 billion people in this world, and there is no other, and there will never be, nor has there ever been in past, a you. There is only one you, and we've been given, so many of us wired and struggle with this, who we are. And that can really rock our boat and detract us emotionally throughout the course of our days, our months, our years, in terms of our quality of life and our experience. Giving yourselves permission to be you. One of the things that I've made a decision in this past year, I am now going fully gray. I have been dyeing my hair for 20 plus years. At first, it was kind of like, I've struggled, and I have just given myself the green light to just be me. You turn on the television, you look around, and we are a society very much hinged on meaning and significance equating to youth. And what I have become kind of increasingly aware of, that I've got some sunspots, I've got some wrinkles going on, I've got gray hair. It is part of my journey, and these things are part of the process of life. I do not judge anybody if they're rocking out some Botox or if they're whatever you're doing, but sometimes we make certain decisions because we're uncomfortable with who we are. Give yourself permission to be you. Give yourself permission to be you, and what a beautiful, beautiful thing that is. That's a huge step. And that could be, putting some Post-it notes in your car, Post-it notes in your bathroom. I am awesome. I am, fearfully and wonderfully made. You were made with purpose. But until we begin to be comfortable and give ourselves really that like green light, I'm going to be me. I'm listening to this fun music. I'm going to dance in the rain, right? I've at times, like, oh, do I do that? What do people think? I'm now becoming just like, I don't care. I am going to be me, right? And I'm good. I want to be me. And too often it's like, well, what do those people think? Well, I'm going to tell you, most of the time, wherever we're at, you're never going to see those people again. Or if they care that much, they're not worth it. Being comfortable being you, give yourself permission to do so. And with that, kind of rolling into the aspect of loving yourself. So many people don't love themselves. It's a 4-letter word that is thrown out there so often, but it's not deeply rooted. Loving yourself, loving who you are, and connecting that with that positive self-talk. We have so much negative self-talk, beat ourselves up, and it empties our emotional tank. It detracts from us giving ourselves that permission in terms of actually accepting and loving who we are. And that could be pretty brutal. Every single one of us needs healthy boundaries. And we can say, well, you know what, it's just easier to say yes. Actually not. Because it's like that sponge that's full of water, right? It's got water and you've got it in your hand and it's dripping, and then you just keep wringing it and wringing it and wringing it. At some point, not only does that sponge void of any kind of water, of moisture, but it begins to fray and it begins to fall apart. It's us, man. It is okay to say no. This goes hand in hand with giving yourselves permission to just be you. And as this next 365 comes upon us, whether you're listening to this in December or March, it is there and it is ours for the taking, but we have to own it. And man, that's really hard when we're tired and we're worn down. But when we begin to say, I'm worth it, I am awesome, there's only one me in the planet, God made me, and with intention, and I have purpose, love yourself. Fight for yourself, because my friends, you're worth it. We're going to roll into the aspect of how this also connects with giving ourselves permission to be ourselves, is the aspect of having that an emotional odometer check-in, right? We have, we drive our car, we've got our odometer, and it tells us, in terms of, how's your car doing? Okay, that's your car. What about us? Where are you? And I can try to read your mind right now. I'm barely hanging on. I am tired. The past few years, I'm just exhausted. And for us to continually be exhausted is exhausting. And with that, it's saying, okay, how? It is never too late to recover. It's never too late for that ache and that tiredness to be tended to and to be examined and to be looked at. Where's your emotional odometer? We're going to have times, seasons, that we're tired. We are more tired or more emotional than other times. I am the goodness chick. I've never conveyed this in my life, and I hope nobody ever has gleaned this from me. For us to be 24/7 goodness and happy and positive, it's impossible. We have moments. Some of you have lost somebody in the past year, right? That you just miss the heck out of them. And Christmas is really hard. Easter is really hard. Hanukkah is really hard. Or you've, faced somebody in your life where, your significant other, yourself, you lost a job, or someone has, is sick, or you're having financial challenges, and the list goes on and on, or this time of year is when I think about this person, or the list goes on and on. We can't be happy all the time, but allows our heart and our mind to be in a better place is when we tend to ourselves, when there's kind of that personal maintenance. Again, referencing back to our vehicles, right? We have our check-in with our cars, and if we don't tend to them, right, we can blow our motor out if we're not, putting the oil back in when it needs to be put in. But it's the same thing with us. Are we tending to ourselves? Where it's like, I'm gonna take 5 minutes in the morning on my way to work, or 5 minutes, 15 minutes laying in bed a little bit earlier and taking time to just breathe deeply, taking time for prayer, reflection, and taking to where am I at? And there's going to be times that response we're not going to want to hear, that I'm in a really stinky place. And it's saying, okay, so what do I do about that? And for some of us, I'm not in a place to ask somebody for help. No, you're worth it. It's connecting with the counselor. It's connecting with somebody within your circle. Can we go for coffee, or can we just FaceTime? It's those things at different times of year where maybe, you know what, I'm gonna go for a walk for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes, for a few minutes. Capture those moments for you. I'm gonna drive, and yeah, it's super chilly, but I'm gonna have the windows down just to clear my mind a little bit. What are those things that are allowing you, those emotional seasons, to be just less brutal and less tumultuous? And with that, as we hit these different seasons, as we check our odometer, it's not judging ourselves. Holy cow, can we be hard on ourselves? We can judge ourselves for times of funk. Why am I feeling this way? I'm falling short here, or such and such isn't feeling this way. First of all, you don't know how such and such is feeling. Nothing. We never, ever, even though we do sometimes, judge a book by its cover, because what are in those pages, what are in those chapters, you don't know. And this is where it comes to focusing on ourselves. Allowing that ourselves to say, okay, giving myself every 30 days, every 60 days a check-in. How am I doing? And that might seem, instead of looking at it as like an obligation, it's a gift to ourselves. All right, my odometer's kind of funky right now. I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna go for a walk, during my lunch break, or I'm just gonna have a cup of coffee and I'm locking myself in this room just to get some time by myself. Or I'm gonna start writing a little bit here and there again. Or, I know for me, having time in the morning for quiet time, for prayer, and I read my Bible and doing devotionals, I feel different when I don't. It's part of my fuel. What's your fuel? And for some of us, you might not, I don't know what my fuel is. Well, the really cool thing, it's taking time to say, okay, what's my fuel? And figuring out what that means for you. And that could be a bazillion beautiful things that we just need to kind of take the dust off the top, and taking time for ourselves. So we're looking at our emotional seasons with the emotional odometer check-in. It's looking at the aspect permission to be ourselves. And what I want to look at, I could see, well, this is a little different, is a bucket list. You say, bucket list, we're talking super deep rooted stuff here, and now you're throwing a bucket list at us. I am throwing a bucket list at you because I believe it can give us some form of motivation. It could bring some color into our life when it can seem kind of gray and murky. What are some goals and things that get you excited about living? For some of you, it might be like, I don't know. Is it taking a pottery class? Is it picking up the guitar that you haven't picked up in a long time? Is it connecting with a friend that you just haven't chatted? You're both crazy and busy, and hey, every 30 days, we're gonna have a virtual, happy hour together. We're having a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, and we're just talking. What is it that is a bucket list for you? I want to travel here within the next, year. But I'd say try to have a 60-day bucket list, a 90-day bucket list. Little things. It's not adding, stacking you with homework, but little things that can allow us to kind of get excited about life. What are those things? I know for me, I've really kind of taken a little more than a year off with different things going on in my life. I want to begin to slowly kind of get back into doing some public speaking again, motivational speaking. It's been a while. I've taken some time off. That's on my bucket list. It's something that fills my cup. I love doing. What is that for you? What is that for you? And so what is your, we could have a 5-year bucket list, and sometimes we can have bucket lists that kind of like distant, far off. And this is where I say having something that's a little bit more tangible and closer to the forefront of that bucket list, that's 60 days, 90 days. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy train. It doesn't have to be, I'm gonna run a marathon in the next 60 days. What is your bucket list? And it's allowing us to kind of bring some color and goodness and excitement, because there could be times and seasons, and maybe that's where you're at right now, that you're just tired, you're worn out. And these little kernels of goodness can help us when it comes down to what our next year can look like. And again, there's things that are way out of our control. There are times that things that we want to fix and we can't. But I will say this, when it comes to our mindset and having some form of a game plan and reminding ourselves, like writing down, okay, what did she say again? It's having our permission to be myself, having my emotional 30-day weekly check-in for myself, and coming up with some bucket lists, because life can be tough. Life can be tough. And instead of looking at another year of, oh my gosh, the year behind me, stop doing that. We make mistakes, we've had heartache. And those things can be part of the new year, where we learn and we grow. and we remember in a positive way. But when they become shackles, that's not what they were intended to be. So as we go forward, it's going forward. It's not looking full-fledged behind us. Taking these things of giving ourselves permission to be ourselves, having this sense of I'm going to do an emotional odometer check-in, and getting my bucket list together. Take it, my friends, roll with it. And as we go forward, wishing you really a beautiful, bountiful year, and one that's filled with peace, love, and goodness, my friends.